Okay, so here is my lesson plan book it's planbook.com, and it is how I communicate with my peers within my school and beyond. Um, this is the unit that I used during math time on line plots, and everything that you needed in order to complete most of the unit is found here. For example, this is teaching them how to estimate with their fingertips and body parts when they're measuring. This is the day that we started comparing inches with their feet and learning about their feet, whether or not to use feet or inches to measure. And these are all links to notebook lessons and PDFs that they did their worksheets, so my cooperating teachers can go there and click on them and find it. This is the one that I did with the kids on the line plots, and we measured things and then created our line plots. So if I click here, it will open up the notebook document that did the line plots lesson. Okay, now that this is open, this shows you the smartboard lesson that we did, and we talked about what a line plot was. In the morning, we had a routine where we were keeping graph data of our daily weather. So I will show you later how I have kind of integrated that so that they can still review what a line plot is and what kind of information it gives you. This told us how to teach it, and it talked about that stuff. Then the next page, the students were to count their pockets. And again, this explains how to do it. They made a line plot of the number of pockets that they had. So when I taught it, we went to this page and I had each student count how many pockets they had. So I would draw a stick and I would have a student come up and tell me how many pockets they had. If they had 4 pockets, then they would come up here and they would put an X over the 4 pockets. Then the next student might come up and were wearing a dress that day, so they had no pockets. I had a teacher in my classroom and she had 3 pockets. Then we had another student that had 4 pockets, and it went on like that. Once we had finished and gathered all of our data, we discussed it. This created lesson showed that 2 classes would be in the classroom when they did it. So one would be with one color and one would be with the other, and they could do dots. But since I know from my experience that most timeline plots use X's to represent the data, I wanted to try to stay consistent. These link to questions that they could use their clickers to answer. So for example, if I went to 60, well, okay, not on this one. If I went to this question, that would be page 67, what was the number of pockets? So then I would be able to click here. Okay, I had to adapt this because this was like a 100-page thing that was done by JCPS or provided by JCPS. So I just cut out the part that we needed for my team at that day. But we would go back and the kids could click that the answer was 4 so that we would see it. Then we could go to the next question, the least number of pockets. Well, the least number of pockets was 0, and I would just scroll back to the page to show them, and they could click in what their answer was. So I could get the immediate response. So on and so forth. We had these other questions talking about what is the difference. This was excellent because later we would compare links, and the difference is very important because they would need to know to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. On the line plot, it would be the 0 minus, and the data I think went up to 4. And that was all that we had for line plots from this lesson plan. Then the students were making their own line plots with another provided worksheet, which I will get to in 1 second. Okay, that same day that we did our notebook lesson, and it was a link here, we also went and did this as well. It shows the two standards that it covered, 2MD1 and 2MD9. This one is going to have an activity for the students to do on their own, reviewing the line plots. So I will click on this and it should open as well. Okay, so this was the activity that they had to complete on their own. We had been measuring for a while, and so was printed out and given to the students. Each student was expected to measure in inches, write down how many inches it was, again, measure in inches and write down how many. On the separate sheet of paper, it gave the answers. Well, it didn't give the answers. This is the answer key. But there was a separate sheet of paper that I guess is not linked on this page that it said line plot across the top, and then it had just the straight line across the bottom. The students were expected to put the data that they came up with here on that line plot. So if they had a So this one was not linked on there, but was provided with a hard copy to my teachers. I guess that's something I should go back and do. This one was the paper that they had that had the picture of the line plot. It tells you what standard the students were working on, their target for the day. I showed you the worksheet that they had to measure first, and then they were to come down here and plot the data on the line plot. So I would go around, but I allowed each table to kind of work on their own, and they would start with 0 right here. We have done number lines before. This would go up to their highest data, and then they would put their X's above. The students did okay with this lesson, but we did it for inches and centimeters, and we did our morning review, which I will show you as well. So these are my morning routines. We start with our attendance, then we have our calendar that we do. Then it tells us what we're supposed to complete. I have our morning message. We have a review with adjectives. This is just a cute little thing the kids love to do. And this was our adaptation of a line plot. It used to be the old pictograph that they would have, that they would drag a square to fill up for the bar graph. I guess it wasn't pictograph, it was a bar graph, so that they could see the data. But since they kind of struggled with this, I'm just making sure that they are aware how to see data a different way. We don't have numbers, but we have the different types of weather that we have. So it's an adaptation of a line plot so that they know what they're looking at. The students each morning will come up, one of them, based on whatever I draw, and they will write an X over. And then we discuss to make sure that Miss Begin has checked her work. Sometimes I will miss a day or I will not save it correctly, and I will need to ask the students, okay, if today is truly the 21st, and I think on this day it was the 28th. And so I would ask them, okay, how can I find out if there's really 28 days there? And the students will do a number talk, talking about how they did it. The first thing that we do is we count these. 4, 5. There's 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 here. 3 here. 5 here. And 5 here. Then I will have the students raise their hand or give me a thumbs up, show me different ways that they can tell me that they have figured out if I have missed a day or not. So if I picked Fred would tell me the way that he calculated it, and he would say something like, I counted, is what we started out with, counted by ones. Then I will have Caitlin maybe, and she will tell me that she added 5 and 5 and got 10, and that came from here and here. She then added 5 and 3 and got 8. Then she recognizes that she has another 8, plus this 8 was a double, so she's familiar with 8s. She got 8 and 8 equals 16. So since we've done this quite some time, the students all kind of know that they have used the 2 5s up here They have used the 5 and the 3 here, and this 8 was what was left over. So this 16 reflects all 3 of those numbers right there. So then they'll tell me 16 plus 10 equals 26. So if this day was the 29th, I think that's what I said, 28th, then Miss Begin made a mistake that should have shown 27 days until we put our next X on. So those are some ways that we did it. Another student will get to come up and maybe put his work up there by sharing. He might say that he saw 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. And then he saw that 8 plus 3 is 11. And then he knew that 15 plus 11 is 26. So again, Miss Begin has made a mistake, and that's a way that they see that. As you can tell, I am pretty fond of the plan book because it shows all of our lessons and links and ideas that we can use. This is something that I did in my PD later for the other teachers to use. I'm going to make a screencast to show teacher how to use and set up plan book, but my team likes this. The entire unit is right here on measurement. So if I wanted to go back and see what I had taught well, not that week, that was February. If I go back and see what I taught the next week to review, it shows me the links that I did, the core content connections lessons that we did. It tells you what we taught. It still has another comparing length worksheet that we've done. This day was a day that we were observed by someone, and so it was pretty well thought out. It tells you specifically the last 3 slides. This one is the same sort of thing on line plots using centimeters this time because we had done inches the week before. We had an assessment on Friday. Then if you look at the next week, it shows the continuation of the unit. We had to start talking about word problems that involved length, word problems that involve length, word problems that involve length, and it has the MDA that we had to do. This was another teacher-generated word problems involving by me. Another teacher created that that worksheet, and I do not have a digital copy, so that is something that I should have her attach. But as it stands, this plan book is simply in my name, and the other teachers can view it and connect to get the materials. If we go to the week I think right before spring break, we started introducing fractions. And so therefore there's again some more links to things that they should do. This is a website that they can do. This has been very beneficial for my ECE teachers and my ESL teachers so that they can kind of see what we're working on without having to track us down. I hope this has been helpful. It does show that I have utilized technology with my students and shared with my peers, parents, because they have the access code, which again I will show you later as well in an additional screencast. Thank you for your time.